People often say they're afraid of failing, but that's rarely the truth. Most people are afraid of feeling uncomfortable. They're afraid of being tired, of being judged, of not seeing immediate results. So they protect themselves by staying still. But staying still isn't safe. It just feels that way at first. Over time, stillness turns into stagnation, and stagnation turns into regret. Discipline, on the other hand, keeps you moving, even when it's messy, even when progress is slow, even when it hurts. Movement creates momentum, and momentum silences regret before it ever has a chance to speak. Look at your life honestly. The moments that bother you the most aren't usually the times you tried and failed. They're the times you didn't try at all. The chances you didn't take, the effort you didn't give, the discipline you postponed. Those moments linger because deep down, you know the cost of action would have been smaller than the cost of avoidance. You know the pain you ran from was temporary, and the pain you gained was permanent. Discipline isn't about punishing yourself. It's about respecting your future. It's about understanding that the version of you who will exist months or years from now is completely dependent on what you do today. That future version will either be grateful for the discomfort you endured or burdened by the comfort you chose. And here's the hard truth. Future you doesn't get a vote in today's decisions. Only you do, right now. In this moment, every time you choose discipline, you're making a deposit into your future peace. Every time you avoid it, you're creating debt that will eventually come due. Regret always collects. It might take years, but it never forgets. Discipline collects too, but it pays out in confidence, clarity, and freedom. One pain strengthens you, the other weakens you. One is chosen, the other is imposed. So the question isn't whether you'll feel pain. You will. The real question is when and for how long. You can feel it now, in small, manageable doses, or you can feel it later, magnified by time and lost opportunity. Discipline hurts now, but regret hurts forever. There's a lie that quietly convinces people to quit before they ever truly begin. And that lie says that discipline is a punishment. It makes discipline feel like something unfair, something forced, something that only exists to make life harder. But the truth is very different. Discipline is not a sentence. It's an investment. And like every real investment, it asks for something upfront before it gives anything back. What you give is comfort. What you receive is a future you don't have to escape from. Short-term sacrifice doesn't look heroic while you're in it. It looks ordinary. It looks like waking up early when no one is clapping for you. It looks like saying no to distractions while everyone else is saying yes. It looks like choosing effort on days when motivation is nowhere to be found. In those moments, discipline doesn't feel powerful. It feels inconvenient. And that's exactly why it works. Because while others are chasing what feels good now, you're quietly building what will feel good later. The mind naturally resists this. It's wired to seek comfort and avoid discomfort. That's not weakness, it's human. But growth has never lived in what's easy. Discipline asks you to override that instinct, not once, but repeatedly. Fall as low as you used to. And the alternative is always there, quietly tempting you. Comfort offers immediate relief, but it never asks where you want to be in 5 years. It only cares about right now. Short-term comfort feels generous, but it's actually expensive. It steals energy, momentum, and belief without you noticing. Discipline, on the other hand, feels costly at first, but compounds over time. Each small sacrifice stacks on top of the last, creating progress that eventually becomes undeniable. The long-term win isn't just success, it's freedom. Freedom from constant stress. Freedom from always feeling behind. Freedom from wishing you had started sooner. Discipline gives you options. It gives you confidence in your ability to handle pressure. It gives you control over your direction instead of leaving your life to chance. That's what the sacrifice buys you. Not perfection, but power. There will be days when the sacrifice feels pointless, when the results aren't visible, when the effort feels unrecognized. Those are the moments that define everything. Because discipline isn't tested when it's easy. It's tested when it feels thankless. And every time you show up anyway, you widen the gap between who you are becoming and who you used to be. That gap is where growth lives. You don't need to sacrifice everything. You just need to sacrifice consistently. One choice at a time. One disciplined decision stacked on another. Over time, Those small choices create a life that doesn't require motivation to maintain. The struggle becomes optional, not constant. The stress becomes manageable, not overwhelming. That's the return on the investment. So when discipline hurts, owls up in quiet moments. When you're alone. When you're scrolling and see someone doing what you once dreamed of doing. When a birthday passes and you realize another year went by without change. Temporary struggle might make you uncomfortable during the process, but it leaves you with peace when it's over. Regret waits for your guard to drop, then reminds you of every promise you didn't keep to yourself. The most painful part is knowing that regret is optional. It's not something that just happens to you. It's something that's built through repeated inaction. That realization can hurt, but it's also powerful because it means the opposite is true as well. Discipline can stop regret before it ever starts. Every uncomfortable effort you make today is a barrier against future self-blame. Every time you choose to act despite resistance, you take away regret's power. No one escapes pain. That's the truth most people try to avoid. The question isn't whether you'll hurt, it's how and for how long. You can choose the pain that has an ending, or you can choose the pain that echoes. One fades with time, the other grows louder with it. Temporary struggle is honest. It tells you up front that it will be difficult. Regret lies. It tells you everything will be fine if you just avoid the effort, then charges you later with interest. When you understand this, discipline stops feeling like suffering and starts feeling like protection. It's not about being harsh with yourself. It's about sparing yourself from a future you don't want to live in. It's about choosing a few hard moments now so you don't spend years wishing you had been stronger when it counted. So when the struggle feels of dreaming, we'll fix that gap. You don't need massive change overnight. In fact, trying to overhaul everything at once often leads to burnout. What you need is awareness. Awareness of what your habits are reinforcing. Awareness of what direction your routines are pointing you toward. Small disciplined actions done consistently will always outperform rare bursts of effort, followed by long periods of nothing. Habits also remove the emotional drama from discipline. When something is a habit, you don't debate it. You don't negotiate with yourself. You just do it. That consistency creates momentum, and momentum makes discipline easier to maintain because you're no longer relying on willpower alone. You're relying on structure. Structure protects you on days when motivation disappears. The most dangerous habits are the ones that feel neutral, the ones that don't seem harmful enough to change. Wasting time, avoiding discomfort, delaying important work. These habits don't ruin your life overnight, but they slowly lower your standards, and lower standards quietly shrink your future. Discipline raises those standards again, one habit at a time. If you want to know where your life is heading, don't look at your goals. Look at your habits. Goals are what you hope for. Habits are what you live by. And the gap between the two is where regret is born. Close that gap and the future takes care of itself. Your daily habits are already building your future. The only question is whether they're building something you'll be proud to live in. Motivation feels good. It's exciting, emotional, and powerful in the moment. It shows up when you watch something inspiring, hear the right word, DS, or imagine a better version of your life. For a brief window of time, everything feels possible. You're ready to change, ready to commit, ready to go all in. And then life happens. The feeling fades. The energy drops. The excitement disappears. That's not failure. That's reality. Motivation was never meant to last, and anyone building their life on it alone is building on something unstable. Discipline works differently. Discipline doesn't care how you feel when you wake up. It doesn't wait for the perfect mood or the right circumstances. It doesn't ask for permission. It shows up because it's scheduled, because it's decided, because it's part of who you are becoming. That's why discipline is reliable in ways motivation can never be. Motivation visits, discipline stays. Most people don't struggle because they lack motivation. They struggle because they depend on it. They tell themselves they'll start when they feel ready, when they feel confident, when they feel inspired. But feelings are unpredictable. They rise and fall without warning. If your effort depends on how you feel, your progress will always be inconsistent. Discipline removes that uncertainty. It creates action first and lets feelings catch up later. Think about how many times you felt motivated but didn't follow through. Not because you didn't want to change, but because the emotion wasn't strong enough to overcome resistance. Motivation can point you in the right direction, but it can't carry you there. Discipline does the carrying. It moves you forward even on days when you'd rather stop, even on days when everything feels heavy, even on days when quitting would be easier. There's a misconception, and disciplined people are always driven and energized, that they wake up excited, ready to attack the day. That's not true. Disciplined people feel tired, they feel bored, they feel unmotivated just like everyone else. The difference is they don't let those feelings decide their behavior, they act anyway. And that repeated decision builds strength that motivation alone can never create. Discipline also changes the relationship you have with yourself. When you rely on motivation, you're constantly negotiating. You ask yourself, do I feel like it today? And when the answer is no, progress stops. Discipline ends that negotiation. It replaces it with a standard, a rule, a commitment. You don't ask how you feel. You ask what needs to be done. That shift is powerful because it puts you back in control. Over time, discipline actually creates motivation. As you start seeing progress, as you start trusting yourself more, as your confidence grows, motivation follows. But now it's different. It's not fragile. It's rooted in evidence. You're motivated because you've proven to yourself that you can show up even when it's hard. That kind of motivation lasts longer because it's built on action, not emotion. Life will never give you perfect conditions. There will always be stress, distractions, setbacks, and fatigue. Waiting to feel motivated in that environment is a losing strategy. Discipline accepts reality as it is and moves forward anyway. It doesn't need things to be easy. It just needs you to be consistent. When discipline becomes part of your daily routine, something interesting happens. Effort becomes automatic. Resistance loses its power. The things that once felt overwhelming start to feel manageable. Not because they've changed, but because you have. You've trained yourself to act without needing a surge of inspiration. You've built a system that works even on bad days. Motivation can start the journey, but it can't finish it. Discipline is what carries you across the long, boring, difficult middle where most people quit. That's where real change happens, not in the emotional highs, but in the quiet, repeated choices no one sees. You want a life that's stable, strong, and resilient? Stop waiting to feel motivated. Decide to be disciplined. Feelings will come and go, but discipline will always be there to move you forward. Comfort is a seductive liar. It tells you that staying where you are is safe, that avoiding effort is wise, that postponing challenges is harmless. It wraps itself around you like a warm blanket, and for a while, it feels good. But growth doesn't live in comfort. Growth isn't found in ease, in certainty, in the path that feels safe. Growth lives in discomfort, in challenge, in moments that stretch you beyond what you thought you could handle. And the funny thing about comfort is that it masks its true cost until it's too late. Every time you choose comfort over effort, you are making a decision about who you will become. It seems small at first. One skipped workout, one avoided conversation, one delayed project, one ignored opportunity. None of these moments alone feels catastrophic. In fact, they feel almost invisible. But comfort is patient. It doesn't rush. It quietly accumulates. And before you realize it, it has built a life that is smaller, weaker, and less capable than you imagined. Discomfort, on the other hand, is demanding. It asks for effort, for courage, for persistence. It asks you to confront your fears and push past the easy option. But that is precisely why it works. Discomfort teaches you lessons that comfort never can. It teaches resilience because every time you face something difficult, you discover that you are stronger than you thought. It teaches patience because progress rarely comes quickly and challenges require persistence. It teaches confidence because every time you navigate a hard situation successfully, you prove to yourself that you can handle more than you believe. Comfort cannot teach these things. Comfort only gives the illusion of peace while quietly eroding potential. Most people fail to recognize the danger of comfort because it feels good in the moment. Humans are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain, which makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. But the world you live in now requires more than survival instincts. It requires choice, intention, and action. Choosing comfort may feel natural, but it is a decision to remain stagnant. Growth, by contrast, requires choosing the path that feels unnatural, uncomfortable, and often even intimidating. It requires stepping into the unknown repeatedly, embracing struggle as a friend rather than an enemy. Discomfort is temporary. The early mornings, the long hours of practice, the conversations that scare you, the decisions that demand courage, these moments are fleeting. They may challenge you in the moment, but they pass. Comfort, on the other hand, is long-term. It promises ease today, but its effects ripple into the future. The life built on comfort is a life limited by fear, lazine, SS, and avoidance. You may not feel the consequences immediately, but over time, comfort compounds. It compounds into regret, missed potential, and a sense that you could have been more, done more, or been braver. Choosing discomfort is not about seeking suffering for its own sake. It's about recognizing that true growth cannot occur without effort, that success is never accidental, and that meaningful achievements are always earned. The discomfort of today is a small price to pay for the strength, confidence, and fulfillment of tomorrow. Each time you step outside your comfort zone, you are making a deposit into the life you want to build. Every moment of resistance, every challenge you face, every fear you push through is an investment in a stronger, more capable version of yourself. There is a paradox in life. The path that feels hardest in the moment often leads to the greatest ease in the future, while the path that feels easiest now often leads to the hardest life later. This is why the people who achieve greatness are not the ones who sought comfort, but the ones who embrace discomfort. They understood that success demands effort, that growth demands struggle, and that comfort is the silent enemy of progress. They learned to welcome the hard choices, the difficult tasks, and the moments that made them uneasy because they knew that each one was shaping them into someone stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Discomfort also expands your perspective. When you push past fear, when you confront challenges you thought you couldn't handle, you discover new possibilities. You realize that the limits you once believed in were often self-imposed, that you are capable of more than you imagine, and that life rewards those willing to step into the unknown. Comfort keeps your world small. Discomfort makes it bigger. Every challenge you take on, every effort that feels awkward or hard, every time you risk failing, you are expanding your capabilities, your confidence, and your vision for what your life can be. It's important to remember that comfort is not just external. It's internal too. It resides in habits, routines, and thoughts that make life predictable and easy. It's choosing procrastination over action, excuses over accountability, and ease over effort. Escaping discomfort doesn't require anyone else's permission. It happens in the choices you make every single day. Every time you take the easier path, every time you settle for less than you can give, comfort tightens its grip. But every time you step into challenge, every time you face a fear, every time you do what others avoid, you loosen its hold. To embrace discomfort is to embrace life itself. Life will never be free of challenges, pain, or uncertainty, but it can be full of growth, strength, and achievement if you are willing to meet it head on. The moments that scare you, exhaust you, or make you doubt yourself are exactly the moments that shape your character. Avoiding them may feel safe now, but it comes at the cost of who you could become. Choosing discomfort, on the other hand, builds a foundation for resilience, confidence, and the ability to thrive no matter what comes your way. The world rewards those willing to step into discomfort, not the ones who wait for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, or the perfect feeling. The ones who succeed are the ones who take action despite fear, despite fatigue, despite uncertainty. They understand that comfort is a trap, that temporary pain leads to permanent gain, and that life is measured not by how easy it is, but by how much you grow along the way. So, when you feel the pull of comfort, remember this: growth lives in discomfort. If you want to be stronger, wiser, and capable of more, you must step into the moments that feel uncomfortable. That is where transformation happens. That is where life expands. That is where true success is born. Comfort is tempting, but it is also the enemy of your potential. Choose discomfort, and you will never settle for anything less than the life you are capable of achieving. Every time you make a promise to yourself and keep it, you're doing more than just completing a task. you're building a foundation for self-respect. Discipline isn't just about achieving goals, hitting targets, or finishing what you started. Those are outcomes, yes, but the real reward lies in the trust you cultivate with yourself along the way. Every choice to follow through, every decision to do what's hard instead of what's easy, sends a message to your mind, your heart, and your spirit. You can rely on yourself. And that message becomes powerful over time, shaping the way you live, the way you act, and the way you face challenges. Self-respect is like a muscle. It grows stronger each time you demonstrate that you are worthy of your own trust. When you ignore your responsibilities, give in to excuses, or avoid discomfort, you weaken that muscle. You teach yourself that your word doesn't matter. You teach yourself that your actions are negotiable. And the more you allow that pattern to continue, the more it erodes the confidence that underpins every other success. But each act of discipline repairs that damage and strengthens your foundation. Each time you choose to follow through, you're not just finishing a task, you're proving to yourself that you can be relied upon. That proof becomes armor for the hard days that are sure to come. Think about your relationships for a moment. How much trust do you place in people who frequently break promises, who fail to show up, who only act when it's convenient? You don't respect them as much, and you certainly don't rely on them. The same principle applies inwardly. Your self-respect is built on your ability to show up for yourself, even when no one is watching, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's hard. Discipline is the currency that earns that respect. Every time you honor your commitments to yourself, you're building a reputation inside your own mind. A reputation that says, I am someone who does what I say I will do. This process doesn't happen overnight. It's cumulative. Self-respect grows incrementally with repeated evidence of your reliability. It starts with small decisions, waking up on time, completing a workout, finishing a difficult project, practicing a skill consistently. Each one may feel minor on its own, but collectively they create a pattern. And that pattern becomes a story you tell yourself about who you are. I am someone who keeps my word. I am someone who shows up. I'm someone who can handle responsibility. That story then guides future behavior because your mind aligns with the identity you've proven to yourself. Discipline also teaches you boundaries and boundaries. Reinforce self-respect. When you choose to be disciplined, you're choosing to protect your time, your energy, and your priorities. You're saying no to distractions, no to shortcuts, and no to habits that undermine your growth. That act of saying no is not just about control, it's about valuing yourself enough to refuse what doesn't serve you. Every time you enforce those boundaries, your sense of self-respect grows stronger and your confidence in your ability to navigate life's challenges expands. Another powerful aspect of discipline is the ripple effect it has on your mindset. When you consistently show up for yourself, you begin to believe in your capacity to face challenges. You stop doubting whether you can endure discomfort. You stop hesitating when opportunities appear. Discipline rewires your brain to expect effort, to anticipate growth, and to embrace responsibility. That expectation becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You become a person who rises to challenges because you know at a deep level that you can. And that knowledge, that inner trust, is the essence of self-respect. It's also important to recognize that self-respect gained through discipline is resilient. Life is unpredictable. There will be failures, setbacks, and disappointments. You may encounter circumstances beyond your control, people who betray trust, and goals that take longer to achieve than you hope. But the self-respect built through consistent discipline remains unshaken. It's internal, not dependent on external validation. Even when the world is harsh, even when outcomes are disappointing, you retain the confidence that you can meet challenges, endure hardship, and continue showing up. That kind of self-respect becomes a shield, protecting you against discouragement, self-doubt, and regret. Discipline also teaches humility alongside strength. By consistently doing the work, you come to understand that results are rarely immediate, and that effort doesn't always guarantee recognition or reward. That realization cultivates patience, persistence, and humility. qualities that deepen self-respect. You respect yourself not only for what you achieve, but for your ability to remain committed, consistent, and courageous even when no one else notices. That quiet respect from within is far more powerful than praise from the outside. Every act of discipline strengthens your resilience as well. Challenges that once seemed overwhelming become manageable because you've trained yourself through repeated effort. You develop a mental toughness that allows you to persevere when obstacles arise. And that toughness is rooted in the trust you have in your own ability to respond, adapt, and endure. You respect yourself because you know you can face difficulty without crumbling. That inner confidence transforms how you approach life's uncertainties, giving you a sense of control even in chaos. Discipline also changes how you relate to opportunities. When you respect yourself, you stop settling for less than you deserve. You stop accepting shortcuts, half measures, and excuses. You begin to pursue goals that align with your values and your potential because you recognize your own worth. Self-respect is a filter for life's choices. It allows you to say yes to what matters and no to what doesn't. And every yes that aligns with your values reinforces that respect, while every no protects it. Over time, this consistent cultivation of self-respect creates momentum. Each disciplined choice compounds, building a stronger, more capable, and more confident version of yourself. The pattern becomes automatic. You no longer question whether you can handle responsibility. You no longer negotiate with your weaknesses. You no longer rely on fleeting motivation to act. Discipline has trained your mind and your habits to align with the person you want to be. And that alignment, that internal consistency, is the hallmark of true self-respect. In the end, discipline is not just about achieving external success. It's about creating a relationship with yourself that is unshakable, trustworthy, and honorable. It's about proving day after day that you are someone worth believing in, someone capable of facing discomfort, someone committed to growth and integrity. Every time you honor that commitment, you strengthen your inner foundation. And once that foundation is strong, everything else in life, success, resilience, confidence, and fulfillment becomes easier to build. Self-respect is not a gift. It is earned, nurtured, and reinforced through discipline. Every act of consistency, every effort to do what is hard, every choice to follow through, even when no one is watching, cements your trust in yourself. Discipline builds self-respect, and self-respect becomes the cornerstone of a life that is strong, capable, and free from the chains of doubt and regret. Life doesn't reward excuses. It doesn't care about reasons, justifications, or explanations. It doesn't pause when you feel tired, when you're scared, or when you think you need more time. The world is impartial, indifferent, and unforgiving in that way. And the hard truth is that success isn't given to those who talk about what they want. It's given to those who act, who show up consistently, and who deliver results regardless of circumstance. Discipline is the key difference between those who succeed and those who simply wish they had. It separates the people who make their dreams a reality from the ones who let fear, procrastination, and excuses steal their potential. Excuses are seductive because they feel like protection. They make us feel justified, safe, and reasonable. I'm too tired today. I'll start tomorrow. I can't because the timing isn't perfect. Each excuse is a tiny act of self-preservation, a way to avoid discomfort, a way to escape responsibility. But that comfort comes at a cost. Each excuse is a small debt you accumulate. It doesn't feel heavy in the moment, but over time, the weight grows. Opportunities slip past, momentum slows, confidence erodes. The very thing you were protecting, your future, starts to slip out of reach. The disciplined person doesn't avoid discomfort. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They understand that life doesn't align with convenience. The world doesn't give you breaks because you're tired, scared, or unprepared. It gives you results based on what you do consistently. That consistency is not dependent on how motivated you feel or how easy the circumstances are. It's dependent on your commitment, your integrity, and your ability to do what needs to be done when it needs to be done. Results are impartial. They respond to effort, not excuses. Consider the power of showing up when it's hard. Discipline is about doing what You said you would do even when the world isn't cheering you on, even when motivation is gone, even when no one notices. That's what separates winners from dreamers. Winners understand that small actions repeated daily create a trajectory of success that excuses can never touch. Dreamers, on the other hand, live in an illusion that desire alone is enough. They wait for the perfect moment, the ideal conditions, or the perfect feeling, never realizing that life rewards action, not intention. Excuses are convenient, but they are deceptive. They make you feel like you are being smart, rational, or kind to yourself, when in reality, they are stealing your future. Every excuse avoided is a small victory. Every action taken in spite of fear, doubt, or discomfort is a building block for success. Discipline is the antidote to excuses. It trains you to focus on what matters, to act even when it's hard, and to measure your worth by effort and results rather than feelings and justifications. The world responds to results. That is an unchanging fact. People who make excuses may feel justified in the moment, but eventually reality catches up. The deadlines still arrive, opportunities still pass. Life doesn't pause for indecision or hesitation. The consequences of inaction are relentless and they don't discriminate. If you want a life of achievement, a life that commands respect and opportunity, you must accept that excuses are a luxury you cannot afford. Discipline is what allows you to act despite those feelings, and that action is what produces results. It's important to understand that discipline is not about being harsh with yourself or denying yourself pleasure unnecessarily. Discipline is about prioritizing long-term gain over short-term comfort. It's about recognizing that the effort required today is the difference between stagnation and progress, between frustration and achievement. Every act of discipline is a declaration that you refuse to let excuses control your life. Every time you do what is necessary instead of what is easy, you reinforce the principle that results, not reasons, define your reality. Excuses often disguise themselves as good intentions. I'll do it tomorrow because I need to prepare more. I'll start next week because I need the right mindset. I can't now because I need more resources. But the truth is that waiting for ideal conditions rarely produces results. There will never be a perfect day, a perfect moment, or a perfect feeling. There will only be the present moment and the choice to act within it. Discipline teaches you to seize that moment. It teaches you that success is built on the consistent execution of effort, not on waiting for circumstances to align. Discipline also shapes your reputation, both with yourself and with the world. People notice those who act reliably, consistently, and effectively. They notice the ones who deliver results when others falter, who rise to the occasion when excuses would be easy. Success does not reward potential. It rewards reliability. It rewards those who produce outcomes. And over time, a reputation for discipline compounds, opening doors, creating opportunities, and building momentum that excuses could never achieve. Another critical aspect of discipline is the way it develops self-trust. When you stop making excuses and start following through, you prove to ourself that you are capable, responsible, and competent. That self-trust becomes a foundation for further growth. The person who relies on excuses never builds this foundation. They always doubt their own ability to act. But the disciplined person knows that action, no matter how small, is proof of capability. That knowledge is powerful because it reduces fear, strengthens confidence, and makes future challenges easier to face. Discipline also prevents regret. The cost of excuses is always higher than the cost of effort. Excuses may feel harmless in the present, but they accumulate, leaving a trail of missed opportunities and what ifs. Every time you choose action over excuse, you are shielding yourself from the heavy, lingering weight of regret. You are saying to your future self, I showed up. I did what was needed. I honored my potential. That choice matters far more than the temporary comfort offered by avoiding effort. Ultimately, the lesson is clear. The world rewards action, not intention, results, not reasons, effort, not excuses. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It allows you to overcome hesitation, push past fear, and deliver results even when conditions are less than ideal. Excuses may feel safe, but they are the enemy of progress. Discipline, on the other hand, is the force that moves you forward, builds trust with yourself, and earns you the outcomes you desire. The choice is yours. You can make excuses, delay effort, and hope for a future that may never arrive, or you can embrace discipline, act consistently, and create a life defined by results, achievement, and fulfillment. Life doesn't reward excuses. It rewards the discipline. Every choice you make today is being watched by a version of you that exists only in the future. That future self isn't abstract or distant. It's real, and it's counting on you to act wisely in the present. Every time you choose effort over comfort, action over procrastination, or discipline over excuses, you are sending a message to that future self. You're saying, I respect you. I trust you. I am building a life for you that is worth living. But every time you avoid responsibility, put off hard work, or chase immediate pleasure, you are letting that future self down. You are leaving them with problems, regrets, and the consequences of choices you refuse to make. We often think of the future as something separate from us, something that will arrive in its own time. But the future is not separate. It is the product of your decisions, your habits, and your actions today. Every moment you spend procrastinating, doubting yourself, or avoiding discomfort is shaping that future. And the scary truth is that those moments accumulate faster than most people realize. One skipped effort leads to another. One excuse leads to another. One day of inaction builds into weeks, months, and years of lost potential. Meanwhile, the version of you that could have thrived is left waiting, wondering why you didn't step up when it mattered. Your future self is not someone you meet by accident. They are someone you create intentionally. Every time you choose discipline, you are investing in them. Every time you delay action, you are taking away from them. And over time, the difference between consistent effort and consistent avoidance becomes staggering. The person who shows up, who endures discomfort, who makes disciplined choices, this is the person who achieves their goals, who builds confidence, and who lives without regret. The person who avoids effort, who seeks comfort, who convinces themselves it's not the right time, this is the person who struggles, stagnates, and constantly wonders, what if? It's important to realize that your future self doesn't have the ability to intervene in your present. They can only benefit from what you do now, and they can only suffer from what you fail to do. If you ignore your responsibilities today, that future self pays the price. If you delay the work, dodge the discomfort, or rely on fleeting motivation, your future self inherits the consequences. And the weight of those consequences is heavier than the discomfort you avoided in the first place. Pain deferred becomes compounded, and regret is always a more costly burden than effort ever was. Every decision matters because time is relentless. It moves forward without pause. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready, motivated, or inspired. It doesn't reward planning without execution, dreaming without action, or intention without consistency. The future you are creating is determined not by what you hope will happen, but by what you do happen to do in this moment. That is why discipline is so crucial. It allows you to act on behalf of the person you will become, to make choices that strengthen, support, and empower them instead of leaving them, to face the fallout of inaction. Think about the small choices you make every day. They may seem insignificant, choosing to work an extra hour, to push through fatigue, to practice a skill when it's inconvenient. But those small choices compound over time. They become habits, and those habits create the environment, mindset, and abilities of your future self. Just as compound interest works in finance, the compounding of consistent disciplined actions produces results that are exponential. One day's choice may seem minor, but repeated day after day, it creates a trajectory that cannot be ignored. On the flip side, neglect compounds too. Every time you choose comfort over discipline, that choice carries forward. Each act of avoidance adds weight to your future life. The person you will become is silently shaped by every missed opportunity, every delayed action, and every moment you chose ease over effort. That future self is counting on you to make better decisions, to invest in them consistently, to show up even when it's hard. And if you fail, the consequences are not abstract. They are lived experiences of frustration, regret, and limitation. The relationship you have with your future self is built entirely on trust. Trust that you will do what needs to be done. Trust that you will endure discomfort. Trust that you will act in alignment with your goals, values, and potential. Every act of discipline strengthens that trust. Every time you push past resistance, follow through on a commitment, or honor your responsibilities, you tell your future self, I've got you. You can count on me. And over time, that trust becomes a core part of your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone reliable, capable, and resilient. That identity shapes every choice you make, and it reinforces the cycle of disciplined action that benefits the future you. Conversely, breaking that trust erodes confidence, self-respect, and potential. Every time you fail to act, procrastinate, or give in to comfort, you signal to your future self that they cannot rely on you. And when that becomes a pattern, it creates a lifetime of uncertainty, regret, and self-doubt. Future challenges feel heavier because you've taught yourself that you cannot endure them. Goals feel more distant because your habits have failed to prepare you for them. Your potential is diminished, not because the world is unfair, but because the choices you've made have built a weaker foundation for yourself. The good news is that this dynamic works in your favor when you choose wisely. The future you is not trapped by your past mistakes. If you act now, you have the power to redirect your trajectory with every disciplined choice. You can strengthen the trust between who you are today and who you want to be tomorrow. You can invest in skills, habits, and resilience that compound into confidence, capability, and achievement. You can give your future self a life that is free from regret, capable of handling challenges, and built on a foundation of self-respect and reliability. Every time you hesitate, remember that hesitation is not harmless. Every day spent delaying, avoiding, or ignoring what needs to be done is a day of potential stolen from your future self. And every action taken, no matter how small, is a gift to that future self. This perspective reframes every challenge, every difficult task, and every moment of discomfort. You are not simply enduring hardship for today. You are acting as an advocate, protector, and builder for the person you will become. Every choice has a weight, and the scale of that weight determines whether your future is empowered or burdened. Ultimately, your future self is watching, and they are silently judging every decision you make. They feel the impact of your choices, even if the present moment feels inconsequential. Discipline is the bridge that connects who you are today with who you will be tomorrow. Each act of responsibility, each moment of effort, each choice to act despite discomfort is a gift to your future self. And when you consistently honor that responsibility, you ensure that the person you become is strong, capable, confident, and free from the heavy chains of regret. Your future self is waiting. Make sure you show up for them. Every journey worth taking comes with challenges. Every meaningful goal carries obstacles. Every dream that matters demands effort. And yet, most people stumble not because the path is too difficult, but because they underestimate the importance of persistence. They expect results too quickly. They wait for perfect conditions. They give up when progress is slow. But life is rarely instantaneous. Growth, success, and transformation take time, patience, and relentless commitment. Discipline ensures that you don't quit too soon, that you keep moving forward even when it feels like nothing is happening, and that you endure the discomfort long enough to see real results. Persistence is the quiet engine behind every great achievement. It isn't flashy. It doesn't make headlines. It doesn't deliver instant gratification. It's the repeated decision to act, to endure, and to push forward even when the outcome is uncertain. People often think success is about talent, luck, or timing, but the truth is far simpler. It's about showing up consistently without fail. Talent, why? Without persistence fades. Opportunity without persistence is wasted. Motivation without persistence is fleeting. Persistence transforms potential into reality. It bridges the gap between where you are now and where you want to be. The hardest part of persistence is that it often feels invisible. You work hard, put in the effort, and yet results don't appear immediately. That's when most people quit. They measure success by instant reward rather than cumulative progress. But persistence isn't about immediate payoff. It's about maintaining effort long enough for the results to compound. Every day you show up, every small action you take, every moment you push through resistance is a building block. You may not see the structure yet, but it is being built, piece by piece, moment by moment. There's a difference between effort and persistence. Effort is temporary. It can be applied sporadically. Persistence is consistent. It becomes a habit, a lifestyle, a mindset. You don't just try once and hope for the best. You commit to showing up again and again, no matter the outcome yesterday, no matter the difficulty today, and no matter the uncertainty of tomorrow. That consistency creates momentum. Momentum is invisible at first, but it is unstoppable once it gathers force. Persistence is what creates that momentum. Without it, even the most talented, motivated, or lucky person will struggle to achieve anything meaningful. Persistence also teaches resilience. When you continue despite setbacks, failures, and disappointments, you are building a strength that cannot be taught in comfort. Each obstacle you overcome, each challenge you endure, and each failure you learn from strength, and that's your ability to handle the next one. Life is unpredictable, and challenges are inevitable. Persistence is your training ground. It ensures that when life pushes back, you are capable of pushing harder. It develops patience, grit, and courage, qualities that are essential for achieving lasting success. It's important to recognize that persistence is not blind stubbornness. It's not about repeating the same action without reflection or adjustment. True persistence is intelligent and intentional. It requires a clear vision of your goal, an understanding of the steps needed to reach it, and the flexibility to adapt along the way. It's about maintaining commitment to the outcome while learning from the process. It's about refusing to quit even when progress is slow, while still being willing to adjust your strategy when necessary. That combination of steadfastness and adaptability is what separates those who ultimately succeed from those who give up too soon. Every person who has achieved greatness has faced moments of doubt. Every athlete, entrepreneur, artist, and leader has questioned whether the effort was worth it. Every success story is filled with early mornings, late nights, setbacks, and failures. What made them different wasn't luck. It was persistence. They continued when others stopped. They endured when others quit. They trusted the process when nothing seemed to be happening. And eventually that trust paid off. Success is never immediate, but persistence guarantees that you will arrive at some point if you refuse to quit. Persistence also has a compounding effect on confidence. Every time you push through resistance, overcome an obstacle, or complete a task, despite difficulty, you prove to yourself that you are capable. That proof accumulates. You begin to trust your ability to handle challenges. You begin to see yourself as someone who doesn't give up. That self-belief fuels future persistence. It creates a positive feedback loop. Persistence builds confidence. Confidence reinforces persistence, and persistence produces results. Over time, this loop becomes self-sustaining, and your capacity to endure and achieve grows exponentially. Another benefit of persistence is that it protects you from regret. Life is filled with opportunities, but opportunities are only valuable if you act on them. Waiting for the perfect moment, avoiding discomfort, or giving up too soon ensures that many opportunities pass unclaimed. By committing to persistence, you guarantee that you are at least giving yourself the chance to succeed. Even if failure occurs along the way, persistence ensures that you can look back knowing you gave your best effort, that you endured, and that you didn't quit before your time. That knowledge is powerful. It prevents the crushing weight of what if from clouding your future. Persistence also teaches patience, a skill that is increasingly rare in a world obsessed with instant results. In an era where information is instant, communication is immediate, and gratification is often quick, the ability to wait, endure, and continue working toward long-term goals is invaluable. Patience combined with persistence creates mastery. It allows you to focus on the process rather than obsessing over the outcome. It teaches you to appreciate progress, even when it's slow, and it ensures that when success finally arrives, it is durable, meaningful, and well-earned. In the end, the choice between temporary pain and lasting regret is yours alone. Discipline may feel uncomfortable now, but it builds strength, resilience, and a future you can be proud of. Every act of effort, Every decision to push through fear and every moment you stay committed compounds into a life of achievement and fulfillment. Regret, on the other hand, lingers silently, reminding you of opportunities you let slip and the potential you failed to honor. Success is not about avoiding struggle. It's about embracing it, trusting yourself, and showing up even when it's hard. Remember, the discomfort you endure today is an investment in a lifetime free from the chains of regret, and the life you dream of is built one disciplined choice at a time.